What would Dr. King say about the racial achievement gap in our schools today? National test data show for 13-year-olds a 28-point racial gap in math scores and a 21-point gap in reading scores. Two recently published analyses of the scores both point to glaring socioeconomic factors as the most likely culprit. One points out that in 2008, black children 17 and under were 50% more likely not to have health insurance. In 2007, 34% of black children lived in poverty, while only 10% of white children did. The other report argues that it was programs like Head Start that explain the period of time when the gap was actually closing, that it's likely that desegregation played a role, and that smaller class sizes made a bigger difference for minority students. Unfortunately, some have jumped on the fact that some sections of one report seem to challenge the notion that poverty matters, and they're quick to conclude that the real problem must be black parenting. Of course, parenting makes a difference, but such conclusions are really a convenient way to avoid social problems and put the blame back on individuals. It was the civil rights movement that placed the onus on society to make things right. We're likely to find, Dr. King argued, that the problems of housing and education, instead of preceding the elimination of poverty, will themselves be affected if poverty is first abolished. He wrote, "The task is considerable. It is not merely to bring Negroes up to higher educational levels, but to close the gap between their educational levels and those of whites. Much more money has to be spent on education of the children of the poor," King said. "The rate of increase in expenditures for the poor has to be greater than for the well-off if the children of the poor are to catch up." He went on to argue for reductions in class sizes, for greater community involvement, a greater commitment from educators, and a strategy for promoting desegregation. If we truly want to close the achievement gap, we should remember Dr. King's words. At the end of his life, his outlook was diametrically opposed to that of today's political elites. Yet, come Monday, they will all line up to praise his dreams of equality. They will quote his famous speech from 1963, but not his perspectives from 1967. As he put it in that year, "If society changes its concept by placing the responsibility on its system, not on the individual, and guarantees secure employment or a minimum income, dignity will come within reach of all." I'm Brian Jones for GRITtv.